Welcome back to the Gaia Show on the Business Pulse, the online show on a cosmic quest to discover the spiritual laws of success in the world of business, where we explore great minds and bring you universal principles to help you unlock your greatness, expand your business, and achieve personal mastery. Today in the show, we have a lady who's going to be talking to us about the impacts of our thoughts and feelings on the physical body and how that impacts the physical world. In the studio with us today is a lady who is affectionately known as the Universal Foot Lady. Chatting with us today about how our issues affect our tissues is my very good friend and teacher of yesteryear, Chris Stormer-Freyer. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you so much, Tamar. Wow, what a welcome.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show with us. Chris, what is so important now in what you're sharing with the world that's coming through in your, I believe you're writing another book?
I am indeed. This time I'm doing an ebook, simply because I can put down whatever I wish without having it edited by another person. Because with ebooks you can put as much information as possible in. And I would like to share this information that has been entrusted to me before I leave this mortal coil.
So what is so important with the information that you're about to share with people? Why is it so important now that they hear this message?
The reason is, Tamar, as you well know, this world is an absolute mess. People are tripping themselves up all the time. And what they have done is that they've lost touch with their authentic selves. And in doing so, they are making themselves sick, because what they're doing is they're feeding themselves the past memories that are traumatizing. Let's face it, everybody on this planet has had quite a hectic past one way or the other. We all have an amazing number of stories we could actually self-pity ourselves and pour out to other people. But that's life. Life is about a journey of learning, a journey of not what has happened, but how to deal with it. So when we look at the emotional, spiritual side, which you quite rightly said, when we have an issue, it shows up in the tissues, and we understand what the body is saying to us, we know what we're doing. And once we know what we're doing, we've got the tools to sort it out for ourselves.
Okay, so what I heard you say is that people are tripping themselves up. Now, the most frustrating thing is that we're trying to be successful in business. And there's a lot of people out there that just don't know what's holding them back. So what information or what could you share with our audience that might help other spiritual entrepreneurs who are trying to make a success out of doing what they love? I mean, you've always practiced what you've preached. You've always followed your own teachings, and you've run successful businesses. What could you share with our audience that might enable someone who's on a very similar journey create success out of what they're currently doing?
Okay, from the point of view of business, I am by no means a businesswoman. Never have been, never will be. I trust the universe. My boss is up there, and I have always gone with the flow, and I've never counted the pennies. I think this is a huge thing. Money has become God, and this is where we're going so badly off the tracks. When we make money our God, our focus is no longer on the passion of what we are doing. It's no longer on the passion of the world. I will travel for 3 people if needs be, because if 3 people want to hear the universal information, it doesn't matter if it costs me. What I gain in it doesn't matter if it costs me. So an enriching experience for me, the people I meet, the times I have overseas. And so the money has been attracted, that energy is attracted to me simply because I am not looking and saying, oh, I should earn this here and earn that here. I put my passion, my love into what I do. And that has paid dividends along the way. And it's so interesting that en route, I've actually flew to Hong Kong. And I had no money. My starter husband had just left me with no home, a 5 and a 7-year-old to bring up. And the student said to me, if you need to go, you'll go, and the money will come. Just have faith. I'll always remember that. That was many, many years ago. So I went to Hong Kong. I had 3 paying people. It didn't even pay for the airfare, let alone for the room. But out of that came one girl, and she said to me in her Cockney accent, she said, "Cool, blimey, Chris." She said, "This must have cost you a hell of a lot of money." And I said, "Well, that's okay. I've had a lot of fun doing it." She said, "Chris, I want to pay. I've got a lot of money." And I said to her, "You don't have to pay anything. You've paid for the workshop." And she said, "But my husband, he's the head of Disney Productions Hong Kong. Do you know, I went back to Hong Kong, I must say about 15 times. The groups grew to 40 people. I stayed with Heather and her husband. And if I had said to her at that time, oh yes, please Heather, pay for the whole trip and everything, I would have lost her friendship. But it wasn't just there. She also looked after me in England. They had a place in Holyhead. And eventually, near Dubai, and I never know how to pronounce that, because the interesting thing is also, I have a speech defect. And yet, I have used my weakness as my greatest strength. And that's another thing people are frightened to do. When they have a weakness, they don't use it. They don't empower themselves by saying, okay, I've got this weakness, but I can overcome it.
So that's amazing. So what you're saying is that we should take our weaknesses and use them and convert them into strengths. And I think what I really liked hearing you say was that you, regardless of not having the money and being in the space that you were at a really hard time in your life. Your husband had just left you, you had 2 small children, and you still went over to do a workshop for 3 people.
Yes.
And because you trusted in the universe and you knew that you had something of value to share, that you were supported in such a big way,
yes,
that, I mean, you got so much repeat business from that. Well, that's amazing. I just want to share with you that in our next show in the studio, we're going to be talking conscious sexuality with an expert, a therapist, a healer, and a teacher who has combined Taoism and Tantra for over 14 years in his teachings. And what he's going to be sharing with us is how we embrace conscious sexuality, how we embrace this world of sensual pleasure and fulfillment, and how that affects who we are in our business as we promote ourselves and our brand. So Chris, before we finish off today, if you were to share just a couple of simple steps, just 1 or 2 things that our audience could wake up tomorrow morning and start putting into practice immediately, because I think, like you, so many of our viewers out there have got these exciting dreams. They want to create success out of their business. And they have these fears that are holding them back. And I hear that your fear never held you back. You always just went out and had complete faith and trust. Obviously, money is an issue for a lot of them who are trying to create the success, and that's holding them back. What exercise, or what could they say, what could they do on a daily basis that would enable them to overcome that fear and to move from fear into a place, I suppose, of ultimate faith?
Firstly, I'd say stop feeding the past, because it only grows and gets worse. Also, not to buy into the belief systems that they've been hanging on to. To give thanks every day for what we do have, and to look for the good in themselves and other people. Because when we look for the good in everybody, then we find the good within ourselves. The other thing is to give gratitude, to look at what we have instead of what we don't have, and also to look at the best in ourselves and in other people. There's good and bad in everybody, but if we always look for the best in situations and say to ourselves, I can do this. Life is sorted.
Thank you. So what I heard you say is that we should wake up every morning and breathe. We should express gratitude for all the things that we have, that we should be looking for the good in everybody. And if we keep on practicing that, will probably become a habit, and we can shift from a place of fear into a place of faith.
Definitely.
Chris, you spoke about how our past affects everything that's currently going on in our reality. Why is this so important to you?
It's important to me because it's not just our past, our own past. It goes back generations. I mean, even the Bible says 7 generations and more. What a lot of people don't realize is we actually choose our families. Now, I know most people go, oh my goodness, I would never have chosen them. And I'm in that group. But we do. I came as a free spirit and I was wafting around. So I chose an army officer dad who was right here and wrong there and so on. I needed that. I needed that to find my feet. I needed to have an idea of how to function in the world. So I may not have liked it, and there were many things I didn't like about my childhood. But when I look back, I see that that was exactly what I needed to become who I am today. So each of us chooses our family, but not only do we take on our family stuff, but we take on all our ancestral stuff as well. But the interesting thing is there are no inherited diseases, only inherited belief systems. And there's also no incurable diseases. The cure lies within. so that when we understand the emotional, spiritual aspect of what's going on, when we understand why did that happen in my life, why is that memory still haunting me, what can I do about it? I have a choice here. I can either feed it, and that's why we have so much cancer in the world, or I can say, okay, it happened, and I can make myself better. I can be a better person. I can get better at being who and what I am. I can become more passionate about what I do. So let me make a world of difference whilst I'm here.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's important because, if we're to be successful in business, you have to be healthy. You've got to have energy and vitality. And we can't go on blaming anymore. That's what you're saying.
Definitely. No, blame is blah, 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 me. Blah, 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 me. It's
that.
all about me. And eventually we lose sight of what the reality is. Life is an enriching experience if we allow it to be. The moment we let go of that money and we allow our experiences, the people in our lives to enrich us, then our life becomes worth living. We become passionate. And passionate, by the way, is pass I on what I ate.
Pass
on what I ate. And there's so many eights. And the interesting thing is that food is connected to what we do. What do we do when we're bored? We eat. What do we do when we're excited and passionate? We forget to eat. We haven't got time to eat. And food, again, also, this is another thing about the emotional, spiritual side. Women are, and men now, but women particularly are going on diets and losing weight. I am no slim lady, but I do not eat chocolates, cakes, any of those sort of things. But I do take on a lot of stuff. And the more I take on, I've also taken on a lot of hefty emotional stuff. And I acknowledge that, but I'm dealing with it. And so it's not about the food, it's not about the alcohol, it's not about any of those sort of things. It's the spirit and the passion with which we take things and the energy which we take the physical world into us.
Okay. So I think it's exciting because I think when people stop looking at food and alcoholism or other exits or addictions, and they stop blaming their past or possibly the parents that they've chosen, and are able to take full responsibility and accountability, then that's going to have a really positive effect or impact on their business and the way that they're conducting themselves and sharing who they are with the world.
Definitely, because we hand our power away when we blame the physical world.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm Tamar Dakes, and you've been watching The Gaia Show. So what universal principles will you be practicing when you wake up tomorrow that will help you unlock your greatness, expand your business, and achieve personal mastery? Remember to join us again next time as we explore the world of conscious sexuality and discover the impact that has on us as a brand and as we share who we are in the world of business. Thank you. Chris, thank you so much for being with us in the studio.
It's lovely to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to the audience.